Good afternoon. We are in the CRJ-900 from American Eagle, cruising along at 39,000 feet. It should be sort of a beam. Yeah, there's the Dominican Republic over there. Coming up in Puerto Rico, up here to our right. Let's see, we've got 29 minutes left. Heading into Anguilla this evening. It's the flight I did the other day, but I did two things wrong. It's kind of funny because I do learn things simulating. And a lot of times I'm very happy that I learned these things simulating and not in an airplane in real life. The thing I learned the other day was I did the same flight about the same time, and I came in kind of at dusk. And the thing I learned was don't be looking for the lights when it's dark out. I didn't know how to turn on like all the cockpit lights that are on right now. You can't really I mean, you can see them. You know, I was just kind of fooling around before the last couple of minutes. Got some lighting here. Got some lighting over here for the pilot side. Got some lighting up here for the rest of the kind of cockpit area. So it's been a pretty uneventful flight, which is good. We are right here, so that's Puerto Rico off to our right, actually. Coming up over here. We're making our turn now. We are 200 miles from Slugo. I've put in, this is the top of descent that the flight computer has calculated. This is my personal, start of descent reminder, which I'm gonna use because I want to get down a little before Slugo. Slugo is, so here's my destination, Anguilla. The approach is pretty simple. I'm direct Slugo right now, so I fly to here, and then from Slugo I proceed to Ermad for the RNAV 11 approach to Anguilla. This is that approach. We gotta brief the approach anyway. Juliana approach on 128.9 or 5. Let's put that. Let's go to the radio frequency here. Or radio 128.95. Put that in the backup frequency. Lloyd Tower is 118.5, but I'm not going to use that today. There's very little chance that there's going to be a tower controller at Anguilla. So 128.95 for Juliana approach. It's an RNAV approach. Final approach course is 105. Glide slope intercept is 1760. LNAV, VNAV approach, airport elevation is 124 feet. Missed approach, climb straight ahead to 1,000 feet, then a left turn to crook and hold. So it's just straight in, begin your descent. I don't know where they come up with these. I don't know if they just haven't named these fixes yet, or if they're not going to. But you start your descent at Papa Foxtrot 11 Foxtrot. for runway 11. Then you make, if you need to, you go missed approach. Climb to 1,000 feet, and then a climbing left turn to crook. That's 1760. Then hold. That would be a lovely teardrop entry into the holding pattern. Let's see. Transition level is flight level 065. I've already got that set. Transition altitude is going the other way. That's for going up. That's for departures. It's the way I've learned to understand it. Transition level is for landing. Transition altitude is for departing. I don't know. It's still. I still don't understand it. I still don't understand why you would have it different for different areas, and I certainly don't understand why you would have it for planes that are departing or leaving. You know, planes that are departing versus planes that are arriving. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. But there's a lot of things in the world that don't make any sense to me. Minimum safe altitude around the initial approach fix is 25 nautical miles. There's really nothing to hit except the water. Visual approach segment, penetrated by trees and terrain. This is just kind of a legality. At least in FAA speak, Barrow and VNAV not authorized. They have like, there's a thing, this visual segment penetration. I forget what the rule is, but there's a certain distance. Like a circular distance like this off the end of the runway, where if there's any like tree that breaks through like a plane on a certain angle leading up from the runway, I don't know, they put a warning there for pilots. Basically what it means is if you break out into visual conditions on an instrument approach, let's say at night, and you think you're good to go and you're all set, this is just telling you that you might not be. There might be something you could run into if you don't watch yourself. So we are right there at the top of descent. So let's look at the VNAV page. Get an idea at what our descent rate needs to be. 1750. So if we put it into vertical speed mode at 1800 feet a minute, we're definitely going to be in good shape. So I'm going to bring the power back. It is certainly going to the airplane's certainly going to speed up going downhill, and I'll probably wind up bringing it back to idle. See, I'm looking for my banana bar before Slugo, and I don't see it. The banana bar, okay, so there's the banana bar. The banana bar is past Slugo. You can see a little bit of a magenta line right here, overlapping this white line. They call that the banana bar. And as I increase my vertical speed, that banana bar is going to get closer to Slugo. See that? I just went from 1.8 down, in other words, 1,800 feet down per minute to 2,000 feet down per minute. And that banana bar moved from, I don't know why they call it a banana, I've never seen a magenta banana before, but it went from this line back to here. If I bring the power back a little bit more, it's going to keep coming back this way. I would like it about maybe 10 miles before Slugo. And that way I've got time to settle down. If you've watched any of my approaches before in this airplane, what I like to do is get down to my initial approach fix altitude. As I'm getting more comfortable, maybe a little bit closer, but I like doing it at least like 10 miles. I don't want to slow down much more than this. I like doing it at least 10 miles before the initial approach fix, and that way I can get the airspeed dialed in. Alright, we're gonna start getting these hesitations now for some reason. Alright, now I've got my VNav set here on the left side. Actually, I can set up my descent. I can set up my descent winds, which I didn't set earlier. Let's look at St. Thomas Airport. St. Thomas Airport is TIST. It's right here. So whatever their winds are, can give us a decent idea of what descent winds I can expect. So 050 at 10 knots, 070 at 10 knots. So let's put I'm gonna put 030 at 10 knots. It's kind of right in the middle of where they are. And that just 3 40 knots. All that does is that's what the computer uses to calculate things. Tune into true. 40 knots. So I guess it doesn't like when I enter true. 290. Let's put 35 knots because it's gonna decrease as we get closer to the surface. The wind speed, that is. Okay. Alright, so let's continue briefing the approach anyway. Alright, so... Oh, look at this. I never saw this before. So distance to the threshold, 5 nautical miles, 1,760 feet. 4 nautical miles, 1,440 feet. 3 nautical miles, etc. And how do you know it's nautical miles? Because it always uses nautical miles for distance in aviation. Unless it's visibility. And why is that? That's because nautical miles take the curvature of the Earth into effect, which you need in flight distance, but you don't need in visibility distance because you don't see a curved Earth. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but anyway, ground speed. Let's look at our performance data here. I'm guessing it's going to be, let's get our fuel from the aircraft, 8,791 pounds. That's our passenger weight. This is our cargo weight. So we've got a calculated VREF speed of 137 knots. We'll set that. So at 140 knots, we're looking at 743 per minute, foot per minute descent. Of course, that's ground speed. Let's check the wind at Anguilla. Current weather in Anguilla, the wind is 0.9 or 0 at 8 knots, so it's just pretty much right down the runway, about 8 knots. Visibility greater than 6 miles. Statute miles, that is. Clouds scattered layer at 1,900 feet. Temperature 27, dew point 20, altimeter 1016. Let's write down the altimeter setting here somewhere. 1016. Ooh boy. Look at this. Now that we're getting down close to the ground, we're going a lot. Our indicated airspeed is a lot faster. So pulling the power back, you can see here, this is 40 miles, this is 80 miles. So Slugo, you figure maybe 15 miles will be about 15 miles before Slugo will hit our target altitude of 2,600 feet, which is great. So coming up in the British Virgin Islands over here. This is this island right in front of us is Aguadilla, I believe it's called. And this is kind of like it's the northernmost island in the British Virgin Islands. It's kind of a cool little. It's only accessible by plane or boat, by small plane. They fly small planes in there. let's go back to VNav here. Descent info. Okay, we can really slow down the vertical speed here. Slow the descent down, which will slow our airspeed down. So there's that. There's the rest, the other islands. You can kind of see them a little bit in there. All right, so LNAV VNav is what we're doing. There's PAPI lights on the left-hand side of the runway. Miss approach again. Climb straight ahead to 1,000 feet. Climbing left, turn to crook, and hold. LNAV VNav, which is what we're doing. MDA or decision altitude is 550, and I would put in a decision altitude instead of an MDA, but for whatever reason in this plane it takes a day and a half to enter a decision altitude, and entering an MDA takes nothing at all. I don't know why. The MDAs, so it's 570, no, 550. So we're a C class airplane based on our speed. So MDA 550, even though it's actually a decision altitude, not an MDA. MDA is for LNAV only. So effectively what that means is that LNAV is I mean, they're both technically non-precision approaches. They're both technically non-precision approaches. You can see the little airport on Anguilla right there. So these are both technically non-precision minimums because any RNAV approach is, legally speaking, a non-precision approach. But when you've got an LNAV VNav, which is lateral navigation and vertical navigation, in other words, left-right guidance and up-down guidance, you get a decision altitude, which is you descend to this altitude, 550 feet, on this 3-degree glide slope, and once you hit 550 feet, either you see the ground or you don't, or you see the runway environment, they say, or you don't, and you go missed. Whereas an LNAV approach, what you do is you come down to 570 feet, level off, and then fly level until you hit the missed approach point, which is the runway threshold, and then go around if you don't see the runway environment. But anyway, dialing in, see right here, you've got MDA or decision height, minimum descent altitude or decision height, and this is technically a decision height of 550 feet. But to dial in 550 feet, I'll show you. Alright, so there's DH. See this? Now watch this. It goes by single feet. So you think I'm going to sit here and do this until it says 550? No, I am not. So I just put in an MDA of 550 and that's that. Alright, so the approach is briefed, and the only thing I really need to see on the approach is this. And I do the same thing in a real airplane. I'll put it on my iPad so I can see this is what I want to see, and this is what I want to see. And if I don't have this number first and foremost in my head, then I don't know what I have first and foremost in my head. So in other words, what I mean by that is this number right here, 550 feet, is what keeps me from hitting the ground. And so if I don't have that number in my head, like foremost in my mind on an instrument approach, then I'm just not paying attention. You've got to know that. All right, one last check here of that scope. Let's see if there's any controllers in the area, either San Juan or St. Martin. There is not, so we are good to go. I'm going to pull up the chart on my iPad as well. And that way I can use it, because I'm probably going to close the one here on the screen to give you guys a better view. Alright, so we are descending through 8,400 feet, so let's turn the landing lights on and not turn them off like I did last time. Alright, the other thing I need to do is, well, no, I do not need to set the altimeter until what they refer to as flight level 650 or 65, which is 6,500 feet. Where I come from, there ain't no such thing as flight level 65. Flight level 65 would be 65,000, not 6,500 in the U.S. All right, let's do what we do, descent checklist here. Alright, landing level set, fuels check, TCAS set, radar I know is good, CAS check, landing data set, approach briefing complete. Let's check the CAS. CAS, we need to put on the seatbelt sign here. Coming up to flight level 65, where we're going to set the altimeter to 1016. Right here, the barrow. (1016), we're all set there. Alright, and the other habit I've gotten into is as my banana line gets in closer to gets within the range that I have set, then I pull the range in a little bit. So I can see better. Alright. And the throttle's to idle. I want to set the speed to 210 knots. It's not going to go to that speed because I'm still controlling the speed with my throttle in vertical speed mode. We don't want to get too slow yet. It's going to come back into about low 50s and 1 on the throttle. Alright, so what we're going to do is we cross Slugo. Let's see, where are we here? We cross Slugo, and then we're direct Ermad. Cross Slugo at 2,600 feet. Ermad is yeah, 2,600 feet, then 1,760 down to Ermad. So as soon as we level off here at 2,600 feet, I'm going to set 1,760 because that's my next altitude. In this plane, you always set once you level off, once you get out capture, but you'll see out cap right here. See, I'm descending to 2,600 feet. Right now I'll get a notification. That means 1,000 feet to go. We're at 3,600 feet, descending 2,600. So once we hit Once we hit 2,600 feet, it'll go to out cap mode, and it will hold that altitude. And then I can adjust when I want my next altitude to be right here. My next altitude, I want it to be 1,760 feet. I can't set 1,760 feet. So see there, alt cap. So I'll set 1,800. As soon as we cross Slugo, then I will begin a descent to 1760. Once we level at 1760, I'm going to put the altitude setting up to 2,500 because I need it above 1760 in order to be able to descend in vertical speed mode past the approach fix, the initial approach fix. Oh, past glide slope intercept anyway. Alright, so we want to adjust the throttle to maintain 210 knots. Anguilla traffic, American 264 is 10 miles from Slugo, inbound on the RNAV 11 approach, Anguilla. And that noise was somebody talking to me, which is, well, maybe not. I thought that was somebody talking to me on VATSIM. Alright, so we're not going to get the dusk approach this evening, but it should be nice anyway. I did set my landing data, did I not? Viewer F-137. I'll do it one more time just to make sure. Alright, it is an RNAV approach. We are on FMS1, which is what we want. Slugo RMAD, so everything looks good in the flight computer. So we're level at 2,600. Bring that altitude now down to 1,800. And once we cross Slugo, I will descend in vertical speed mode. And that is Slugo right there. So we'll go vertical speed. Got 20 miles to get down, so it's really no hurry. As a matter of fact, it's no hurry at all. Anguilla traffic, American 264 is Slugo inbound on the RNAV 11, Anguilla. So we are now direct ERMAD. And I need to bring my power back because we're picking up speed. And we got alt cap here again. So once we get to 1800 and that stops flashing, then I can put that up to, let's say 2500, 3000. I'll put it up to 3000 for the hold at on the missed approach. If we need it. Alright, so I'll come in with some power here now that we're settling. About 61%, 62%, and one should do the trick. Alright, 1800 feet. Okay. So we're in altitude select mode now, so this is, I can put this up. So I put that altitude select up to 3000, and the reason, I've explained this in another video too, probably every video I've done, the reason you do that on GPS approaches in this airplane is because once I cross, in this case, this intersection, Papa Foxtrot 11 Foxtrot, which again I have no idea why they call it that. Anguilla traffic, American 264 is 10 miles from Ermad on the RNAV 11 approach, Anguilla. I'll put in my first notch of flaps here. Come back over to the checklist, before landing checklist. Flight attendants advised, passenger signs on, thrust reversers armed. Come on. Landing gear and flaps we'll worry about later. Passenger signs are set. Pause here from... Okay, now we're back. So once I cross this fix and I want to start descending on the glide slope here, if I have this altitude still at the altitude I'm at, which in this case is 1800, it's going to kick off for a second when I switch it to vertical speed mode, but then it'll just go ahead and recapture the altitude again at 1800 feet and stop descending, which is not what we want. Okay, so I'm going to click this off so we get a better view. I've still got it in front of me on my iPad. Alright, we're going to go to 8 notches of 8 degrees of flaps. Start slowing the airplane down a little bit, because I want 180 knots right now. So as I pull back on the power but maintain altitude, something has to give, and that something is airspeed. Anguilla traffic, American 264 is 3 miles from Ermad on the RNAV 11 approach, Anguilla. So it looks like this is going to be a pretty... There's Saba over there. St. Martin directly out ahead of us. Alright. So we are ready to rumble here. Come up on Ermad. 180 knots. Put it in that 20 degrees of flaps. Anguilla traffic, American 264 is on a 15-mile final, runway 11, Anguilla. And that's what it is. It's a 15-mile final. Alright, 160 knots. I don't want to get any slower than that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to land. Please notice the cabin lights have been turned off, as this is a normal...
And the only reason I dial in that 160 in the airspeed is just to remind myself. And as we add drag to the plane with throttle, with flaps and gear, we're actually going to have to increase the power, St. Martin over there, to maintain our airspeed and altitude. Once I hit this next waypoint here, this PF11 India, then I'll start slowing down to 140. Probably 145 really is what I'm gonna want. Alright. Thrust reversers are set. Alright, let's start, well, the next move is going to be 30 degrees of flaps. That's going to start bringing the airspeed down again. Anguilla traffic, American 264 is on a 10-mile final for runway 11, Anguilla. I don't know why, but you never say 10 in aviation, you always say 10. Alright, we're going full flaps, gear down. That airspeed will start dropping now. Usually you need about 70% N1, which is this number right here, for a good approach speed. Definitely don't want to get too slow in this one. Okay, and as soon as we cross this next waypoint right here, we're going to begin our descent. Just add a little power because I'm a little slow. Alright, we're 1 mile out. Anguilla traffic, American 264 is on a 5-mile final, runway 11, Anguilla. Alright, vertical speed mode down. 600 feet a minute. Bring the power back a little bit. And now we're to 700 feet a minute. You can see the little dot here, the snowflake, that's what we want to be on. Airspeed is picking up. We want to pull that power back. Again, slight changes on the controls, on the power. You don't want to make huge adjustments. tiny bit high. Anguilla traffic, American 264 is on a 3-mile final, runway 11 Anguilla. Alright, airspeed is good, vertical speed is good. I'm gonna can this baby, but you put it back up. Take a little bit of power out. Very, very little bit of power out. We should get a blink for the MDA here in a little bit. Okay, bring the nose up just a tiny bit. A little bit of power out.
500. 400.
A little bit of power out.
300.
Sync rate.
Yeah, it's alright.
Sync rate.
200.
Sync rate. Sync rate.
100. 50. 40.
Sync rate.
30. 20. 10.
Put in the thrust reversers. Alright, and we are down. It's a little high all the way in on that approach, which is not ideal. I don't remember if they have a turnaround down on this end. And there is no turnaround on this end. So alright, cleaned up the flaps. It was a tiny bit high.
Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop.
And I was a little bit my descent rate was too high. I mean, I think probably, my guess is if I were a first officer on that airplane and I was flying that approach and the captain were monitoring that approach, he would have told me go around. And I think in airline operations, I don't think there's a choice. Anguilla traffic, American 264 is back taxiing runway 11, Anguilla. Like, I don't think you have a choice, and the definition of a stabilized approach, and you heard that sync rate, right? Because my vertical speed right here was minus 1.1, which is 1,100 feet per minute descent, and anything over 1,000 feet per minute is considered an unstable approach. I've landed here before. I knew I could get this down and stopped easily. My airspeed was good. If my airspeed was too fast, like if my airspeed was really fast and my vertical speed was going down quite a bit, then there's just no question about it. You go around, because you're in a steeper descent than you want, and you're running out of energy. And landing airplanes is about managing energy, especially this type of airplane. It's definitely managing energy. And so but I had the airspeed. I was actually a little bit above VREF. Like I was probably 142 knots. I was probably about 5 knots above VREF. Oh, God's green earth is this guy doing? And so given that, that just means I had some energy to work with. And I'm going to park in a wacky way so that I can get kind of a cool view of this airplane. Alright. What? No. No, thank you. Let's put on the parking brake. Let's turn off the passenger seatbelt light so the good citizens in the back can get up and start grabbing their stuff. And we will shut the airplane down. Aircraft. Let's add the ground power unit. Put the wheel chocks in place. Connect that, connect that. Open the passenger doors, cargo
Ladies and
doors.
gentlemen, the door is open. Please make your way to the exit and please make sure you have all your personal items and
Oh,
carry-on
look at
luggage.
this. I can adjust the cabin lights. Of course I can. I'm the captain. Let's give them some cabin lights back there. Alright. So, that was our landing in Anguilla. I think we did a pretty decent job. And now, how about this? That's what I was looking for. And for anybody who's been to Anguilla or St. Martin, this part of the world, this is exactly what it looks like at this time of night. You start getting these puffy orange clouds, pink clouds really is what they are. And it's so beautiful. And I think Microsoft Flight Simulator does a really, really good job of simulating that, kind of recreating this view. The next thing I have to learn how to do in this simulator is play with the cameras because I have no idea how to do it. None whatsoever. This is the extent of my camera ability. I can take the mouse and just drag it around. I can't even do that very well. I always get it backwards. So that's St. Martin in the distance. This is Anguilla. And thanks for flying along.